Thank you so much, Brittany and Derek. I felt like I was tuning into a Sunday morning news show that was so timely and so informative. And I just want to extend huge gratitude and thanks to all of our fellows, all of our guests, and I want to ask everyone to join me in a virtual standing ovation for the conversations that we've had today. They've been so inspiring, and I really am taking a lot away from our conversations. You can see that you can pack a lot into an 8-minute conversation. By the way, our fellows are not just paying attention to values here in the United States. Over the 5 gatherings, when we bring our fellows together, they're traveling to the Netherlands, to the Middle East, of course, to Aspen, and our seminars culminate in the American South. This values-based leadership journey is one that includes 25 to 50-year-old leaders from all over the United States, and we welcome nominations of folks like the fellows you've seen on the screen today. If you're curious about our fellowship, please visit us at civilsocietyfellowship.org. I want to welcome all of our fellows and guests back onto the screen with me at this point. What a beautiful microcosm. So I've got a closing question, and just gonna cold call a handful of you. I want to ask you a very simple question, which is, what's one thing you're taking away from today's conversations? Emma, since you said Native communities are always a footnote, I'm going to start with you. What's one thing you're taking away?
So I used to live in Chicago, and I think all of the really great leaders and people who are doing the hard work in Chicago, I actually am going to take that away, because when I was there, I felt like I wasn't as involved as I could have been. And it was really inspiring to hear the work that's going on in the Midwest. So I'm actually going to take that away. Thank you for that.
Oh, thank you for that. I had the blessing of living in Chicago after college, and I always thought, unlike LA where I was born, Chicagoans look like they've had a day of hard work. And so, city of broad shoulders. Rebecca Staples, what's one thing you're taking away from today?
Thanks, Nikki. Actually, I kind of wanted to go back to something that one of my fellows, Joy Friedman, said at the very beginning of this experience, which is the thing that she fears most is fear. So I've been thinking about that when we talked about common humanity, what drives fear. And I think it's fear of the unknown. And I think to Juan's point earlier, if we don't see the other as part of a common experience, as a fellow human, then we're always going to be driven by our fears. But if we can reduce that abstraction and become more known, more seen, we don't have to agree. But I think as long as we just go back to that commonality, we can get a lot of stuff done. So I've been thinking about her comment, and that's what I'm really going to take away from today.
Yeah, thanks for that. Thanks for lifting that out of our opening. Appreciate that. Will Snowden, what are you taking away from today?
Taking away the value of perspective and just thinking through how we might think we know certain things based on our background, based on our experiences, but being able to illuminate some of our blind spots from other people's perspectives is just a really valuable teaching tool.
Thank you, and I appreciate you bringing Wilkeitha in. Inspiring to know that she's back in school right now and really enjoys stepping onto that campus. Derek, Professor Muller, love to know what you're taking away from today.
I'm just inspired by how many people are thinking about the long term and about sort of big picture objectives, right? Whether that's in policing, whether that's in governance, whatever it might be, that people are really looking at long-term projects and not being stifled by the fact that it can be incremental or it can be slow to get to those things, but that recognizing that there are slow things and small things we can do that over time will culminate toward those objectives. So that's been a helpful perspective to think about today.
Great. Really appreciative of your perspective. And if we had more time, I'd ask you about what you think about President Biden wanting to bump Iowa for South Carolina.
Strong thoughts that I can't say on this call.
We'll handle that offline. Let's go out to Nevada. Caleb, what are you taking away from today?
To be perfectly honest, I'm still just sort of bringing all of this amazing perspective and information in, and I want to do an hour on each one of these interviews. I think just like everybody else, it was so powerful and so impressive. I think one of the things that I thought was really sort of stunning was from the very first interview between Aviva and Roya about, and I may have misheard this, so I apologize if I did, but not just making the revolution we're seeing in Iran a revolution of women, but a revolution of society because of the dangers that could be associated with that. And I think there's a balance. And I'm working through this as I say it, of course, so haven't really had deep thoughts on it yet, but there's a balance between recognizing the new voices, but also recognizing how that could be fraught, and that revolutions are difficult, and that we need to keep all of those perspectives in mind as we try to navigate them. So nothing, I don't think, necessarily deep or inspiring about that, but that was one of those things that took me back to my heels a little bit as I heard it, and will continue to contemplate it.
Thanks, Caleb. And since you invoked her, I'm going to ask Aviva for her one takeaway.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing I wish I was taking away is Emma's puppy behind you. Emma's so sweet. Are you kidding? Hey, what a cutie. But first of all, I'm walking away with a lot of gratitude to my fellow fellows and the work that they do every day. And what I'm reflecting on is that, like, I think I always thought of democracy as like capital D proper noun. But as I think about the folks that are making it happen every day, from the poll workers to the politicians to the, academics to the organizers, it's more of like a verb. It's something that we create and work every day. And when the work stops, that's when democracy fails. And so I think of conversations like this as a part of democracy, of keeping the wheels of democracy moving. So I think changing the way I think about democracy from a noun to a verb.
Wonderful. Appreciate that. Joe Lesher, you've been masterful at wielding the chat today. I wonder what you're taking away.
Oh my goodness. Well, as a Nebraskan, I obviously have some very strong opinions also with Professor Muller about Iowa. Got to rep the land of corn and plenty. But I think one of my big takeaways has just been there is good in this country. There is beauty in this country. There are quiet voices. There are loud voices. There are people that build something big and huge and monumental. And then there's an incredible man who has a popsicle cart, who understands that in every step there is the blessing of democracy, right? The little d that bigs the big D of democracy, and how blessed this opportunity is for all of us, and the obligation that comes out of it, right? Like, we'll close off, we'll go on to our lives, and we'll do all the things that we're going to do, like the survey. But this is a privilege to be in this space. This is an honor. This is, God blesses us with an opportunity to hear, but then we have to use it to do something. And so what will you do with what you have learned today?
What will you do with what you've learned today? I think those are prophetic and powerful closing words. And I want to thank you, Joe. I want to thank all of our fellows, all of our guests. And I want to underline my thanks to our Civil Society Fellowship team, Lita Tremblay, Angela Keys, Alexis Skeen. I want to thank our Aspen Institute team, Sam Cherry, Bill Havayana, Charlotte Lewis, Jael Lewis, and Dar Vanderbeck, my friend here in Los Angeles. I want to say mil gracias to our interpreter, Marina Martinez, for her phenomenal work today. And on behalf of ADL, the Aspen Institute, and the Civil Society Fellowship, I wish you all a peaceful holiday season. Thank you so much.